Meet the Kitcheners, Nick, Karen, Mark and George. But these aren't their holiday snaps.
Okay, behind us we have the red wine vines, then we have our workshop where we fix everything, storage, hanger for the tractors.
3 years ago, Karen handed in her notice, Nick tied up his property development business, they sold their Cheshire home and bought this 100-acre vineyard in the southwest of France.
Life in the UK was very hectic, and we were very focused on our careers and spending different time in different places during the week. And then we'd get all together at the weekend and try and catch up on the stuff that we should have done and spend time with the children. It was madness.
I think it's simple that you end up, we worked really hard, we earned a lot of money, and I think, and it's almost one of my soapbox things, that people just buy stuff thinking that it makes them happy. And we would go out and we'd go into Manchester, spend a lot of money and go, what a great day.
Swept along on the consumerism.
Lots of labels, and it's just, we look back on it and we think, what were we doing? And we thought, actually what we were doing is the same as everybody else.
Yeah, we weren't any different.
And we were just weren't happy.
We chose France because we'd always loved France, and I think the English have this love affair with the French way of life, or the theory of the French way of life.
In terms of research, we did a lot on the web, and we probably had details of about 400. And what we did was we had a three-page A4 sheet, which had all the questions about the size of it. Is it near schools? Is it near shops? What does it do? And then I was coming out every other week, looking at as many as I could, and I could probably do anything between 10 and 20 in a session. So I probably looked at about 40.
There are some wonderful things about living in France, about living here particularly, but there are some dreadful things. It's like anywhere you go and live, you've still got to do the stuff like pay the electric bill, do the ironing.
It's not a holiday.
No, it's not a holiday, and a lot of people fall into the trap of thinking that it is going to be one big long holiday, and it's not.
The Kitcheners paid just over £850,000 for the vineyard. They spent £135,000 on renovations and improvements and have a mortgage of £337,000. So they need to do everything they can to keep money coming in. Karen, you've got the vineyard obviously, and the gîte and the bed and breakfast. It must keep you pretty busy.
It does. It's a tremendous change from the senior job that I had at BT to effectively now I'm the cleaner. This is our B&B. This is the private entrance that the guests have, so it means that they can be as separate from us as they want to.
And how is your daily routine different from when you were living in the UK?
It's completely different. In the UK, I'd spend Mondays and Fridays in my office at home. Tuesday morning, I'd be at Crew Station at 6:30 to get the train to London, and I'd stay in London for 3 days and work there, come home Thursday night. So there wasn't very much of a family life.
But you're still obviously very busy here. If you've got to make breakfast for these guests, you've got the vineyard to tend to.
It's more of a family affair where everyone pulls together. If I have to get up early in the morning to prepare breakfast for the guests and get George ready, then Nick will come back and help me serve breakfast, or he will take George to school so that I can focus on the guests in the bed and breakfast.
And how have you advertised the bed and breakfast and the gîte?
Initially we went for lots of web advertising, but then someone suggested we have a look at Gîte de France. And when we looked into it, we found that not very many British holiday accommodation owners used Gîte de France because it involves an inspection and it involves lots of paperwork, all of which is in French. But when we looked into it a lot more, we found that the French really do like this sort of accreditation, whether it's on their food, their wine, or their holiday accommodation. So we went through the inspection process, and that takes about 3 or 4 hours, lots of paperwork, and it's really started to work for us.
One of the biggest challenges the Kitcheners have faced is financial. The day before they were due to complete on the sale of the vineyard, the bank announced they were reducing their mortgage loan by £67,000. Nick and Karen had to use their working capital to make up the difference. It was a harsh introduction to a whole new set of banking rules. Financially, what's been the most difficult thing you've had to contend with?
It's got to be the banks out here. They are incredibly risk averse. Getting an overdraft, for example, is quite difficult. If you do go over, or if you write a cheque that bounces, then you get a letter where you have to rip up your chequebook or take it to the bank. You can't write any more cheques, and if you don't get it resolved within, I think, 60 days, then you can't have a chequebook for 5 years. The bank charges here are pretty horrific. If we pay in a sterling cheque, it costs us about €30 to pay it in. If we transfer money, we have to pay for that. Even when I do a transfer online, I still have to pay quite a lot. I think in the first year, our bank charges were probably £150, £200 a month.
What have you and Karen done in terms of your pensions?
Still got pensions running in the UK, which we're not paying into anymore, but they're just running as they were. Through the MSA, which is the overarching financial thing for people in agriculture, we do pay into a pension plan, but they are generally recognised as not being very good. So you tend to be pretty much on your own here.
But being on their own and spending more time together as a family has, according to Nick and Karen, been one of the most positive outcomes of this move.
For me, the best thing has been living in such a gorgeous place and having all of this space, and also the fact that George is bilingual. I mean, that is just amazing. The worst thing has been the financial insecurity, the constant worry that no matter what we do, that there is never enough money.
Now, if somebody else was thinking of selling everything up in the UK and moving abroad, what advice would you give them?
Learn the language. Whichever country you're going to, learn the language, most definitely. Do lots and lots of research.
And I would say really understand why you're going there. Are you going there because you want to do something, or are you running away?
Mm-hmm. And do you think you'll stay here forever?
Not sure about forever. One thing that this does give you is once you've taken the leap and made the massive change, gives you the confidence that you could do it again. And there's so many places out there that you could live and so many things to experience that I think we might have the confidence to go and try something else somewhere else.
What would you do now? You've been property developer, now winemaker. What would you do next?
It's got to be astronaut.
So they've made the move and don't regret it. But with no practical experience of winemaking, the last 3 years have been a steep learning curve. Tomorrow we'll be finding out how they've managed to make their business work.